Hey gang! Using the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, will get you 10% off any order over $10 at Flipside Gaming. It'll also get you 10% off any orders of singles at Multizone. And it'll get you 10% off most products at Original Magic Art, with the exceptions of some paintings. If these fine sites don't have what you're looking for, you can also consider using my affiliate link when ordering from TCG Player. And if you'd like to join the Generic Goblin Gang to support this channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Welcome back to another Gamebreakers game. In today's game, I played my short-lived Greven deck, keeping a Black Blade Reforged, Rite of the Raging Storm, Trading Post, 2 Mountains, Inventor's Fair, and Cryptolith Fragment. Ben is back with his Kadena deck, keeping a Dreamstone Hedron, Dimir Signet, Izuri Claw of Progress, Regrowth, Dimir Aqueducts, Forest, and Dimir Guildgate. New to the channel is Chris, who's brought a Sidisi deck, keeping Shizo, Death's Storehouse, Wood Elves, Demonic Tutor, Abrupt Decay, Maelstrom Pulse, Titania, and Marsh Flats. Martin has another Mad Brew, playing a Sedris deck and keeping a Frantic Search, Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Creativity, Mountain, Sunken Hollow, Swamp, and Watery Grave. Chris wins the die roll and starts us off. Chris plays a tapped Overgrown Tomb. Martin plays a tapped Watery Grave. Ben plays a tapped Dimir Guildgate. I break from the trend, playing an untapped Mountain and passing back to Chris. Chris plays a Shizo, Death's Storehouse, and casts a Birds of Paradise. Martin plays a Mountain and casts his Talisman of Creativity. Ben plays a Forest and casts his Dimir Signet. I play a Mountain and put out Blackblade Reforged. Chris plays a tapped Watery Grave, but still has enough for a Wood Elves. He passes while searching for a land. Martin plays a Swamp and casts a second Talisman, a Talisman of Dominance, before passing to Ben. Ben activates his Signet and uses one of the mana for a Soul Ring. He then uses the remaining blue that's floating and taps his Forest for Secret Plans. Chris, meanwhile, settles on a tropical island. Ben then plays his tapped Dimir Aqueduct and bounces his Forest back to hand. I play a Mountain and cast Felwar Stone in my main phase, before I pass to Chris. Chris plays a Marsh Flats as his land for turn, and cracks it, losing 1 life to find a land. He puts to field a Bayou, and then casts Titania. Martin responds to this by casting Frantic Search. He draws 2, discards 2, and untaps 3 lands. Titania then enters, and Chris brings back his Marsh Flats with their Enter the Battlefield trigger. Martin plays an Urborg as his land for turn, and casts Tanos' Coffin, which is neat to see in a Sedris deck. He then pays 2 for an Embalmer's Tools, and passes. Ben plays his Forest again, and brings out a Dreamstone Hedron before passing turn. I play a Molten Slykeep as my land for turn, I play a Psychosis Crawler in my main phase, and pass to Chris. Chris, at the end of my turn, sacrifices his Marsh Flats again to go and find a land and lose 1 life. He also gains a 5/3 Elemental token from Titania. Chris plays a Verdant Catacomb for turn, and then Sidisi in his main phase. This has him milling himself, and he hits a Skull Clamp and 2 fetches before passing turn. Martin plays a Volcanic Island for turn, and plays Ilharg in his main phase. Ben plays another Forest and casts his Commander as well, dropping Kadena to the field. He then plays his first Morph creature from his hand for free, and then drops Izuri Claw of Progress. Unfortunately for Ben, he realizes he did this out of order, and he's forced to pass. I draw, and the Psychosis Crawler deals 1 to my opponents. I then cast Rite of the Raging Storm and pass my turn. Chris sacrifices the Catacombs at the end of turn, losing 1 to find a land. He gets another Elemental token from Titania, and he grabs a tapped Breeding Pool. Chris gets a Rager in his upkeep, and he plays a Bajuka Bog and exiles Martin's Graveyard as it enters. He heads to combat, swinging the 5/1 at Martin and the 5/3 at me. We both don't block and take the hits, and in Chris's second main phase, he announces he's moving through his steps, sacrifices the Rager, and passes. Martin gains a 5/1 Rager Elemental in his upkeep, and plays an island in his main phase. Moving to combat, he swings the Lightning Rager at Chris, who blocks the Wood Elves. Martin then brings in Sedris before passing to Ben. Ben plays a Thornwood Falls, gaining 1 life as it enters. He then unmorphs his Dulcet Sirens and draws a card from Secret Plans. He plays his free morph card, drawing from Kadena, and Martin then gives Ben the Rager token. Ben also gains an experience counter from the morph creature coming in, with Azuri seeing it. Ben then casts Sakura Tribe Elder, gaining another experience counter from Azuri, and he heads to combat. Azuri's trigger goes on the stack, and Ben puts the 2+1/+1 counters onto his commander, and goes to combat, and swings the Elemental Rager at Chris for 5. Chris takes the hit, and Ben passes to me. I draw, dealing 1 to my opponents with my Crawler, and then play an Inventor's Fair as my land for turn. I cast Blood Artist, and head to combat. I swing the 5/1 at Chris, who takes the hit again. In my post-combat main phase, I cast Trading Post, and move to my end step, sacrificing the Rager, and draining Chris for 1 with my Blood Artist trigger. While still at my end step, Chris casts Dig Through Time, delving away most of his yard. He keeps 2 of his top 7 cards. Chris plays a Baleful Strix, drawing as it enters. He then plays an Alchemist's Refuge, and spends a decent amount of mana for Phenax. Chris then heads to combat, swinging his Lightning Rager token at Ben, who megamorphs his Silumgar Assassin, destroying my Blood Artist. I use the Blood Artist trigger to drain Ben for 1, and Ben then chumps the Rager, but still takes 3 from the trample damage. With nothing else, Chris passes. Martin gains his Lightning Rager token on his upkeep, and heads to combat, swinging Ilharg at me and the Rager at Ben. Martin then has to resolve the Ilharg trigger, and puts to field a tapped and attacking Rune-Scarred Demon, who upon entering, tutors a card to Martin's hand. Just so you know, the demon is also attacking Ben. The creatures then connect, with Ben taking 11 and I take 6. Ben then sacrifices the Sakura Tribe Elder to find a basic, while Martin's still searching. Martin then passes, returning the Rune-Scarred Demon to hand, but quickly realizes he wanted to cast Felden before passing, which we let him do. Ben gains his Lightning Rager on his upkeep and plays a Swamp. He taps his Soul Ring for Simic Signet, and then casts Wild Call where X is 0. This gives him another experience counter for Azuri, and a draw trigger from Kadena. 5 mana then gets Ben an Overwhelming Stampede, which gives everything +5/+5 and trample until end of turn. I suggest to Ben, don't come at me.
Yeah.
I have no answers though. And he heads to combat. He puts 3 +1/+1 counters onto his commander, and turns sideways at Chris. Chris responds to this before moving to blockers by casting Abrupt Decay on the Rager. With the Rager dying, Ben calculates that there's still 27 damage heading Chris's way. Chris puts Titania and 2 elemental tokens in front of Kadena, and the remaining creatures to soak up some of Azuri's damage, plus kill the elf thanks to Baleful Strix's Death Touch. Even with all this though, Chris still takes 10. I get my Lightning Rager on my upkeep and gain 1 life from the Inventor's Fair. I follow the trend and hit Chris for 5 before passing turn. Chris plays a Volrath Stronghold as his land for turn, and plays a less than ideal Craterhoof Behemoth who comes in and gives his creatures +2/+2 and trample until end of turn. He swings both of his creatures at Ben, and Ben declares he'll block with a morph creature. Responding to this block once he gains priority, Martin activates Tanos' Coffin to remove the morph creature from play, and Ben takes the full hit of 14. Chris then passes. Martin gains a Rager on his upkeep, and Ben sacrifices the Dreamstone Hedron to draw 3 cards. I respond to this as well, sacrificing Inventor's Fair to go and find an artifact. I reveal Lightning Greaves while Martin shuffles his mana around, and he then casts Mirror March, and then Teferi's Veil. Moving to combat, Ilharg goes at Ben, Sedris goes at me, and the Rager goes at Chris. This lets Martin put in his Rune-Scarred Demon tapped, and attacking again. He has his Mirror March trigger to resolve, and he flips a Toonie, calling it correctly, and gains a Rune-Scarred Demon token. He gets to flip again, calling it correctly, getting a second token. Then a third, but fails on the fourth. We then all take the hits, with Chris and Ben getting taken out. Martin then moves to a second main phase, and plays Cabal Coffers as his land for turn, and remembers to phase out his attacking creatures to the Teferi's Veil, and return the Rune-Scarred Demon to hand at the end of turn. I draw for turn, and Martin loses 1. I play an Evolving Wilds, and sacrificing it forgetting that the Urborg is on the field. I grab a tapped Swamp like a magic genius, and head to combat. I swing the Lightning Rager at Martin, who takes the hit for 5. I then play my Lightning Greaves in my second main phase, and pass. Martin gains his Lightning Rager, and I use Snuff Out for 4 life instead of mana to take out Ilharg. Martin has it go to the yard, and then activates his Cabal Coffers to make 7 black. As Sedris is on the field, he's able to unearth Ilharg and bring it back. He uses the 4 remaining to cast Panharmonicon, and then remembers to flip for his Mirror March, and calls 2 of the flips, but has to sacrifice the tokens as they enter since Ilharg is legendary. Martin moves to combat, and swings Sedris and Ilharg at me, putting in a Runescar Demon once more, tapped and attacking. He flips some coins for a Mirror March trigger, making 4 more tokens and basically being able to tutor up a whole new hand. I activate my Trading Post and discard a card to gain 4 life, and then take the hit for 17. Moving to the cleanup step of combat, Martin then phases out some creatures, and in his second main phase, Martin drops a Dockside Extortionist. He gains 6 treasures twice as it enters, and then casts a Phyrexian Altar using some of the treasures. He uses 6 more treasures to cast Flare of the Hatebound. He then sacrifices 4 of the Runescar Demon tokens to the altar for mana, and evokes a Muldrifter, drawing 2. He then realizes he can more or less kill me by sacrificing the Flare, who has Undying, and it deals more than enough to end the game as it re-enters. Game review time. So first off, I want to say that there wasn't any undue hate towards Chris. We'd seen his deck perform very well earlier on in the night, and we all knew what he's able to do. Martin really didn't use the Unearthed part of Sedris on his deck, but he did show the power of Mirror March and being very lucky. Getting that many Runescar Demon tokens, plus the fact that he had Panharmonicon out, pretty much paved the way to victory. Kadena once more shows just how strong she is and how much card draw she can provide to a Sultai Morph deck. It was incredible to see that Ben was drawing almost 2 cards per morph creature, one from it entering, and one from it being revealed thanks to secret plans. If it weren't for the fact that almost every store that I play at has a Kadena deck, I would actually probably build one. I said that my Greven deck is short-lived, and rightly so. I just wasn't able to get it to work, and then recently, they've been popping up in my stores, and I've seen them play much better than I've ever been able to play them. So look forward to seeing some very tuned and efficient Greven decks in the future. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/MTGMudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/MTGMudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.